Welcome to the show. It is Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat, along with Irish Breakdown. Glad to have you with us. He is Vince DeDario. I am Sean Stiers. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, either one of the YouTube channels, welcome to the show. For the first time, Vince, this is day 7 of this new crossover adventure here on Sports Radio WSBT and Irish Breakdown. I timed out the opens perfectly. I mean, what plays on the air and the countdown and what plays in the YouTube video. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now. Finally, day 7, I've hit it.
It's like training camp. You just, you got to take some practice. You got to get your reps in, and now it's game time.
What it is. Yeah.
Reps.
It's just reps.
That's all it is.
Yeah, that's right. Most of the first 6 shows, I waited a little bit too long to hit start on the YouTube. And so what happens is, like, the YouTube is ready, and then
yeah,
I'm like waiting. So we hit it. We hit it. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
2 days to go till the start of Notre Dame training camp, my friend. 2 days.
I mean, we're borderline, in that Christmas Eve, standpoint of, we've been talking about the 25 season. We're getting excited about the 25 season. The 25 season is going to start in like 48 hours, which is less than that, actually. But it's incredibly exciting. It's football season. It's almost officially football season. Yeah. That's the best part about all of this.
And I don't know if you've seen the forecast, but it's supposed to rain Thursday. So.
Well, of course it is. And that's fine because they have a beautiful indoor facility that we get to hang out in.
It'll be a little steamy inside if it is raining out the way the weather has been around here.
It's supposed to cool down significantly over the next few days. Yeah.
I can live with that. It has been muggy.
Thursday, it's a high of 74. Let's go.
But it's also supposed to rain. So
74 in the indoor, like they'll get the big garage doors open. We'll get some draft. It'll be great. It'll be great. There's nothing that can damper day 1 of fall camp, Sean Stiers. Nothing.
Buenos dias, Jesus. He says he is watching from Mexico. He's asking where everyone is watching from today. Welcome to the show. That's kind of, other than I can count to 10, I can say a couple other words also.
I mean, I'm embarrassed to say I did go all the way through Spanish 5 in high school, and I know basically nothing.
See, I don't understand the point of the high school language thing. No one retains.
No. I did what I needed to do to get through it. And I did successfully, but
I did what I needed to do to get through it.
That's where we're going to leave it right there.
Vince DeDario story.
That's the title of my autobiography.
That's right.
I did what I needed to do to get through it.
That's right, baby. That's right. All right, so 2 days to go till camp, 33 until the season opener at Miami. We are counting down right now. But like you said, like for all intents and purposes, I realize everyone else counts the actual game as the start of the season. The season starts Thursday.
Yes, it does.
Rolls around. We're going to have so much content as well. Like, I know we're not going to get to see a million practices. We'll get to see the one full practice on the first day and a handful of other practices, but we're going to get to talk to Marcus Freeman on the first day. So on Thursday's show, we'll have plenty of Marcus Freeman thoughts, curious, like a million different directions that could go. And then we're going to get to talk to the coordinators Friday and Saturday, I believe, as well. And, we're obviously going to get to talk to all the position coaches and other players and stuff like that as camp goes on. Today on this show, we are going to rank the position groups going into training camp. I figured we'll do it today, and then maybe at the end of camp as we go into the season, or maybe even we save it for after the Miami game, since it's a bye week the next week. We can like re-rank and see how close we were, to where we came out, something like that. So that's gonna be the bulk of today's show, at least in the first hour, before we get to rapid fire with a lot of other Notre Dame and other content, the Ryan Sandberg news, and Vince, a big Cubs fan. And then like, I probably grew up watching Ryan Sandberg even more than you because
there's no doubt.
Demo and everything.
I mean, he came to the Cubs in 1982, and obviously he had his MVP season in '84, and I was 3, so he was
exactly.
I was more of a Ryan Sandberg fan later on in his career. Obviously, we're talking late '80s, early '90s, but I mean, he was around till '97, so I mean, it was well into my high school days.
Did he go that long? 97.
Yeah.
I guess that's only like 15, 16 years.
So I mean,
makes sense.
Basically all today, outside of doing the show earlier today, I was just watching all the tributes, all the videos of Ryan Sandberg and all the highlights and, talking about Ryan Sandberg game and just all the stuff and just bringing it all back and seeing some things that I remembered from like the mid 90s. And then obviously back into the early 80s, I wasn't watching then, but he was a player to be named later, basically in the trade with the Phillies. You know what I mean? Like, and he became a Hall of Famer. I mean, exactly. nine Gold Gloves. He was an MVP.
Him and Larry Boa traded for Juan de Jesus from the Phillies.
Yes, just wild. Rare is it that my team ends up on the positive side of a trade like that, but the Cubs did, so it was great. It's a very sad day.
So I've got a Tim Kirkchin tribute that he did on ESPN that we'll play in rapid fire later on. So we will do that. Yeah, that one played out better than the Lou Brock trade when the Cubs traded Lou Brock to the Cardinals. Just a little bit better worked out. So before we do our player rankings, though, I wanted to bounce this off you because Jesse and I yesterday did our breakout player predictions for this season on yesterday's show. There was some discussion in the YouTube chat about whether or not Charles Jagisaw, and I'm saying that correctly.
Yes, you are.
Everyone wants to correct me when I say Jagisaw. Charles Jagisaw, Jordan Faison, Boubacar Traore, whether or not they were eligible breakout candidates. What are your thoughts on those three guys?
On all three of them?
All three of them.
Well, it depends on your definition of breakout, right? So, like, are they breaking out in that, like, they've never played before and they're going to be a significant part of, like, the rotation? Are they breaking out in that Notre Dame fans know who they are, but nationally they know, people don't, and they're going to be that? You know what I mean? Like, what is the definition you're operating under?
I think that we're talking about being, going from either not playing to, well, basically the not playing part has nothing. Obviously, if you haven't played at all or you've played sparsely, then I think that you're eligible to be a breakout player.
Okay.
I think kind of the way we categorized it is, are you going to vault your play to a position like a Jordan Faison?
Yes.
For example, he's obviously been in the rotation. He's
been a starter.
Right. He's been a starter, but would you call him a star?
I would not.
That's kind of where I, have the sort of line of where you're elevating to quote unquote breakout. Are you a star player at this point? I realize
one of these guys is.
That's what I think as well. Again, Jagisaw has played in 4 career games. Traore has 13 career tackles. They both had flashes and moments last year, but they barely played last year because of injuries, unfortunately. And Faison was limited by injuries as well. So that's why I think that they are all still eligible to be breakouts. I think if Faison, and maybe Brian NY is saying this a little bit in the chat, maybe Faison is saying, or like, if he hadn't been injured last year, maybe he'd be off the list because his play could have potentially been at a different level, but because of the injuries, not quite there.
I think all 3 of these guys are eligible to be breakouts because I don't think any of the 3 of them are nationally recognized as, stars. Jordan Faison is recognized nationally because he's a 2-sport athlete, and that story gets pushed a lot.
I think he's more known for that
Correct.
than he is flat out being a football player.
100%. 100%. And I think, he's got an opportunity to be a starter, obviously, again this year. I think he's going to be pushed a little bit more this year than he has been in the past. and can he stay healthy? That's going to be a big one for him. Charles Jagisaw is a really, really good player, but he has 2 starts under his belt. He's absolutely eligible to be a breakout player.
Yeah. 2 starts in 4 games. Yeah, that's it.
And we know he's not going to be a starter all year because he's already hurt. So, can he be a breakout? Yes, he can, because he is not as well known as some of the other guys on this offensive line going into the season. And Billy Shrouth, Ashton Craig, Emil Wagner, all of these guys have more name recognition from a national standpoint than Charles Jagisaw does. Now, within the Notre Dame community, everybody knows who Charles is. Everybody knows who he is, and everybody knows the potential. But he hasn't proven it yet on a regular basis. He's proven it in spurts, in the 2 starts that he's had, that kind of thing. So he can absolutely break out. And then as far as Boubacar is concerned, he was breaking out when he got hurt, and people forgot about him.
Great way to put it. He was in the process of breaking out.
Yes.
And if he had stayed, again, like all 3 of these guys are basically eligible because of health issues, I think. And I think Faison probably would have gone next level if he hadn't had that high ankle that bothered him for most of the year. But yeah, I mean, that's where Jagisaw and Boubacar are. They were like, if both of them are healthy, I think that they would definitely be off, not qualify at this point.
I would have said something probably similar going into last year, and then they both got hurt and multiple guys got hurt. But I would say you're going to need both of these guys to be healthy the majority of the season if Notre Dame wants to get to where they want to get to. I think the competition across the country is better this year than it was last year. I think it was way wide open last year because I think some of the perennial powerhouse teams were down a little bit. And so it allowed for some movement when it comes to winning a national championship. I think the gap has closed with some of those teams. And so I think it's going to be more difficult. It's going to be very, 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 very difficult for Notre Dame to overcome the type of injuries that they had last year, the way that they overcame them. You know what I mean? Like,
especially considering as of right now, you're without both Jagisaw and Gerby Lambert going into the season, just to use the offensive line as an example.
Sure. And it sounds like there's a chance that Gerby's going to be back in fall camp, but there's no guarantee of that happening. Yeah. And so it's going to be very, very difficult to overcome the amount of injuries that they had last year. I mean, that was just like, that's part of we talked about this in the show earlier today. That's part of the lore of 2024 is that they made it to the national championship game
with all those guys
overcoming all of those injuries. I mean, if you'd have given me a list of all of those guys that were out for injury and told me that they're going to the national championship game, I'd have told you to remove the rose-colored glasses. This is not going to happen, and they did it. And that's what made last year's team special, right? There's no way you can do that 2 years in a row. There's no way.
They've got some depth, though.
They do have depth.
Some depth.
You just hate to lean on that depth every single year like that. You know what I mean?
Well, so often.
Exactly.
But I did. Jesse drafted Traore and Faison to his breakout team.
Okay.
I did draft Jagisaw, but he was a late round toward the end. I still needed an off. The way we did it was we each got one guy from each position group. So I took him late, figuring that, okay, if he's back by November, he's going to end up in the lineup. If he's back and healthy.
You hope so.
November. So I took a flyer on him.
Yeah.
He's going to end up in the lineup if he's back and healthy. I don't have any doubt about that.
I think there's some conversation around that, though.
Ooh, okay.
I do. Because
let's not get hung up on that.
Okay, fair enough. I will leave it at this. If there is even a question as to whether Charles Jagisaw should enter the lineup when he's back healthy, something's going right on the offensive line. I'll say that. Because it won't be because Charles isn't any good. Right. It'll be because Sullivan Absher or whoever is playing at a very high level, and you're like, how can we take this kid off the field?
Yeah, exactly.
Great problem.
I was tempted just to go with Sullivan Absher because that would have been the easy. Now,
sure,
he's most likely going to find himself in the lineup again. Like Gerby Lambert could have something to say about that, by the time it's all said and done. But at the same time, I'm talking about Absher,
Mm-hmm.
he might. That's not a guarantee that he's going to break out, as we're saying.
Oh, absolutely,
because he ends up there. So
look, the offensive line is going to be a very interesting spot to keep our eye on over the next few weeks. I'll just say that, and I don't want to give away some of the intel that Brian has on the board. If you're not a premium member of Irish Breakdown and
a lot of good intel out there.
There's a lot of really interesting offensive line information in there.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything is just penciled in the way you think it is. I'll just say that. And so you want to get over there and check that out. But is
it fair to say that some of the stereotypes that a lot of people have had of Joe Rudolph in the first couple of seasons, like if you read that intel, may be dispelled to some extent?
Yeah, 100%.
I think so as well.
It's going to be, that will be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Joe Rudolph isn't the moron that I think he is. Not Vince isn't saying that. That's like average fan, that doesn't like Joe Rudolph. I think that would dispel some of those myths. I agree with you.
Okay. All right. All right. So go to irishbreakdown.com, check out the premium New Champions Lounge. Of course, you can become a subscriber there, and it's relatively, it's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah,
to become a member, and you get a lot of, because he's got intel on the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, the tight ends.
Oh yeah,
there's some new stuff on the defense that I saw today, as well as the offensive line. A lot of good stuff. This is like juicy tidbits that you can find over there.
And we're gonna have some very interesting video up there during the season too. Just throwing that out there.
Ooh, will you be taking part?
I will. Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna do position group rankings.
Yes.
Today. That's what we came here for. We're going to do this. We're going to do this with an alternating ranking system. So we're not just going to, like, Vince and I didn't just like come up with our own lists and go, okay, here's my list. How close do they come? The way we're going to do this, we've done this with our player rankings before.
Yes.
So Vince will essentially, do you want to start at number one, or do you want to start at the bottom and work up?
I want to start at number one.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to start at number one.
Vince will say this is the number one position group, and I can agree or disagree with that. But for the purposes of putting together the list, we will leave it at number one, and then I will give the number two position group. Vince will go to number three, and we'll just alternate back and forth like that. And then at the end, when we look at the list and we say, okay, I want to adjust this position group up or down one spot, we can each do that. I think when we did the player rankings, we never really adjusted. We just got yelled at for leaving a couple guys off the list.
I mean, it happens. Now, I do want to put out not a disclaimer, but some rules. We have 11 position groups because we split the defensive line into tackles and ends.
Correct.
And then we have the specialists as a position group.
Correct.
So that makes 11 total. So in case people are wondering, we're going 1 through 11 here.
There you go.
I'm going to throw that out there.
Okay. So do you want to start us off? What is the number one position group in your opinion, Vince DeDario?
So I did throw my list together, and since I get to do the number one, I get to give you my number one.
So did I.
Yeah, right. And so we'll see how, where this goes.
Yeah.
I will say the bottom half was harder than the top half.
I thought so as well. I think, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the top 5 were relatively easy.
Okay.
Starts getting a little bit more, how you're going to, look at it once you get to number 6.
Right.
Yep.
Tommy. We're talking in the chat. Obviously, this is radio, but in the chat, Tommy says specialists are automatically number 11. It's harsh, Tommy. It's harsh. Okay. Speaking to the father of a specialist, but whatever. We'll see where they end up.
Reggie Brooks would agree.
I know he would.
With Tommy.
I know he would. All right. So the number one position group clearly is the special. No. Number one position group is the running back room. I feel like that is the easy number one. I hope that's true in your case as well. But they are at the top. They've got the top player. And then I think all the way through from top to whoever you consider to be the bottom, they are the deepest. They are the most talented. It's got to be the running back room.
On this, there can be no debate.
Okay.
The running backs of Notre Dame are number one. I mean, there's a case that this is the best running back room in all of the nation. I mean,
Agreed.
You ask most people, it's either Notre Dame or Penn State. Some people would say Penn State because you got a couple 1,000-yard rushers, but you obviously have the guy, Jeremiah Love, who is considered nearly unanimously as the number one running back in the nation coming into this season. And as we've talked about before, a vastly underrated number 2 guy in DeDario Price. And that's not to mention all the other dudes that you've got in that room with Aeneas Williams and Kedron Young. And, you get Jabron Payne back. So there's just so much depth. The question is, how much are they going to use all of those guys?
I know.
Like, can they, because it doesn't sound like J1 Sider has like that list of 8 jobs or whatever, like Dylan McCullough had. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys get parsed out.
And and we kind of discussed this in one of the shows that we did in the afternoon, and it's you look at all the various scenarios and the different situations, within a game, and how can you not have Jeremiah Love on the field every single time? Well, you have to do a good job as the coach of balancing, okay, we want our best on the field when we need our best on the field, but what does that look like when you're, what does that look like for Jeremiah Love? What does that look like for his family? What does that look like for the rest of the room? What does that, all of these different things. And, you want to make sure there's plenty of tread on the tires at the end of the season. I mean, if you're planning on playing 15, 16 games, you want to make sure that your best player on the team, in theory, is still at his best in January the way he is in August, And so there's just a lot of things to weigh there, and there's a lot of talent there. And I think the fact that there is a lot of talent there will allow them to rest Jeremiah Love more often than people might think when they think of Notre Dame and they think of Jeremiah Love and they think of him being a Heisman Trophy winner and, all of those different things. And I just feel like the depth in this position. I anticipated there was going to be people leaving this position group into the transfer portal and nobody left. Like that, honestly, that shocked me. Yeah. I figured somebody would have hit the portal.
I did too.
No one did. It was amazing to me.
I totally agree with that. DJ in the YouTube says it's always lonely here in the WSBT YouTube feed. Don't they basically combine them? Because like when we post something as the moderators, it shows up as both Irish Breakdown and WSBT. So I thought it was like, because I think showing up here in the chat.
Yeah, so. I think the WSBT chat is all separate from, and then it might be lonely over there. Don't worry, we're trying to bring you friends. We're doing the best we can.
We're here for you.
Yeah.
By the way, Scott L. Esquire said he got in a little bit late, but we did it right yesterday with Jagasaw, Faison, and Traore still eligible to be breakouts. So, all right, we'll take that. Okay, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we will continue. We got all of one position group.
Not surprising.
Segments. We're obviously going to have to speed up a little bit in the
Yep.
second segment when we come back. But we'll do that. We'll continue our Notre Dame football pre-camp position group rankings right after this. We continue on Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat, along with Irish Breakdown with Vince DeDario, Sean Stiers. We are ranking Notre Dame's position groups heading into the start of fall training camp, which is Thursday. That is day one of training camp. And Scott L. Esquire checking in said he listened to the podcast twice yesterday. Thank you. I don't know what speed you listened to it on. He said, circling back to Jesse's bachelor party money dilemma. You did not miss it. We started at the top of the show. We said we were going to do it at the end. Then we even had a full hour yesterday. And then it kind of slipped by us at the end because I was having some log issues. I kept, there were some things I'm allowed to delete and I kept deleting them, but it felt like they just kept duplicating. So I had no idea how much stuff I had to play at the end of the show. So I'm like, well, we've got to wrap it up right now. So that's just the way it went. But Jesse will be in later in the week, and so we will definitely check back in.
Nice.
So yeah,
is he going to be in later in the week though?
Yeah, I hadn't talked to you about it yet. Bobby and Trevor are going to be with me tomorrow.
Okay,
and then I believe it is going to be like the old crew back together for Rapid Fire Friday. You, me, and Jesse on Friday.
All right.
So yeah, I think that's the way we're going to swing it this week.
Well, that's great because I'll be around to hear about this money dilemma from the bachelor party. So count me in.
All right. Okay, so we're ranking Notre Dame football's position groups. We only got one group ranked before the end of the first segment because we were talking about some other stuff as well. Vince put running backs number one. You've got no disagreement from me there at all. Now, I think that there is a little bit of, depending on how you look at these next two groups, the ones that I have anyway, where you're going to put them.
Okay.
And because of both quality of they both have quality of play. I think that the group that I'm going to put at number two has a little more known depth. I'm not sure what you have, but I am putting the linebackers at number two. Now, again, if you just look at, I'll just go ahead and say it. My debate was between the linebackers and the cornerbacks. I've got a feeling you probably had the corners at number two. If you look at one player who's on everyone's All-American list coming into the season, Leonard Moore, then you would put the corners at number two. Now, Christian Gray is pretty good as well, obviously. But then once you get past those guys, and, Devontae Smith, they brought him in from Alabama. He's going to be a good nickel. So the front-end talent is there, but I think it's weighted more by Leonard Moore more than anything, the one guy. But when you look at the linebacker group, and you've got a dude like Drake Bowen, who is also getting a lot of preseason love, and you've got Kingston Viliamu-Asa, and you've got Jalen Sneed, and you've got Jaden Osbury, and then you've got Madden Faramo, the freshman, kind of at the tail end of that pack, and probably some other guys a little bit older than him battling for some spots there. That's why I've got to put the linebackers at number two ahead of the corners.
I think this is a debate where there's probably no wrong answer, to be honest with you. I had the corners at number two, which, since we're kind of not pressed for time, but you know how it goes. Clearly, I'm going to put corners at three, since that's going to be my slot. So we can talk about both here.
Sure.
Look, the linebackers are incredibly deep and talented, and we've seen the production from the linebackers, so I have no problem there. I was thinking frontline starters, and so that's why I had the corners at number two. I think the frontline starters are really good and a little bit more proven. The depth of corner is where the argument could be made for me to put linebackers above corner, because I think there's a lot of talent at corner. I think it's just not proven talent. It's very young talent.
And that's it. It's really just like last year, where last year basically this year versus last year, you substitute Benjamin Morrison for Leonard Moore this season. And, going into at this point last year, Leonard Moore was a great unknown. Chances are one of these young guys, one or two of these young guys, is going to get some opportunities, and he'll pop as well, because that's the way things have gone at the position. But for right now, we don't know until, maybe they're forced to, just depending on how the season goes, or until those opportunities come along. So that's why I had to put the linebacker. It's very close, but again, between the depth and quality of play. That's why I had to put the linebackers at number 2 ahead of the corners.
The hardest thing for the linebackers, and another thing that we're going to be watching, obviously, during fall camp and into the first few games, is what is that linebacker rotation going to be? Are they going to start KVA and Drake Bowen together? Are they going to be on the field at the same time? I just feel I know who the 3 starters are at corner, and I'm very confident in those 3 starters. You know what I mean? The way that they decide to deploy the linebackers could affect their effectiveness. You know what I mean? Like, is KBA on the sideline to start the games the way to go? Just because he's quote unquote a Mike, behind Drake Bowen, or
I hope not.
Me too. Yeah, 100%. But I still think that's a question mark, though, too, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
He's listed as the number 2 Mike right now, which is wild. But your best bet, in my humble opinion, is that both those guys on the field at the same time. Hopefully that comes to fruition.
I think so as well. I think a lot of people think that, but maybe we get a glimpse when they line up out there first thing on Thursday. That's it. Like, the only drawback to Marcus Freeman's camps is we don't get the old tempo drills where, you get to see what the depth chart looks like for second and third teams. We don't get those anymore.
And we'll
understand why.
And we'll see on Thursday, because it's our first full practice. We'll see who the 1s and 2s are. But those 1s and 2s are never the 1s and 2s at the end of fall camp, ever. Like, a lot of those guys on day 1, you'll have guys that have been in the program longer as the 1 over a guy who
you're getting your opportunity to prove you can or can't.
Exactly. Over a transfer or over a younger guy. Like, so there'll be some like overreactions to who the quote unquote starters are on Thursday. There will be, but that's not how it's going to end up, but we'll see. So you're up. Number 4.
You say DJ is putting his rankings in there right now. So we've got running back, linebacker, cornerback, some discrepancy with 2 and 3. But again, as someone said, it's more like 2A, 2B, really. They're both very close. I've got the offensive line as my number 4.
Yep.
You're in agreement?
Nailed it.
All
Nailed
right.
it, baby.
All right. I was wondering, this is where it's going to start getting dicey after this. But, I mean, the line is going to be a strength. The question is how much improved is the pass protection going to be? And, that's one of the questions, I guess. But because of the fact that you have Jagasaw and Lambert out, at least for right now, maybe they get Lambert back. We'll find out. But I think Sullivan Absher is going to be fine.
Yeah.
But like at left tackle, is it going to be Knapp? Could they maybe experiment a little bit with another young stud like Will Black out there at tackle in training camp? I think that's an intriguing question to follow. But overall, like, they have continued to recruit so well on the offensive line that there's no way it should be lower than this number 4. Right.
Yeah, I mean, the depth is there. I mean, they're talking about this offensive line being one of the best offensive lines in the country. I mean, even with the injury to Jagasaw, which I understand has implications, I get it. But the drop-off is not that far going to Sullivan Absher with how big he is and what he brings to the table. He's been in this, he's been in the system for a while. It's not that far of a drop. This is still going to be a very good offensive line. If not elite, it has the opportunity to be elite. We'll see what happens, obviously. But the offensive line cannot be any further down than 4. And if Jagasaw was healthy, I think there's an argument that they may even be a little bit higher. But I'm okay at 4 right now.
It's interesting because I'm looking at the chat in the YouTube, and people are already all over the place in terms of, like
they are.
Tommy says safety at number 4, line at number 5. Scott says he's got defensive ends over the offensive line. Josh says he's got wide receivers at number 4. I will tell you, at least a couple of those position groups are a few slots higher than what I have them.
Oh, me too. Me too. And we'll get to one of those specifically here in a few, but yeah, way higher than I have some of them.
So you're up. Okay. What's your number 5 position group?
So for number 5, I will put who I had at number 5 specifically, and that is the wide receiving core. I have them at 5. I think that, I've been very hesitant throughout the summer not to be bamboozled by the wide receiving core, because it has happened to me many years in a row that I think they're going to be better than they potentially had been, or, than they actually were. But I just think that in the past, we were projecting wide receivers from a group of 5 to a power 4 type schedule, and that they were going to be able to do the same thing. Now we are projecting guys who were at the power 4 level just to do the same thing that they've done in the past. If Malachi Fields just does what he did last year at Virginia, this wide receiving core is going to be better, right? If the kid from Wisconsin does exactly what he did at Wisconsin in 23, and because Will Pauling, he was injured in 24. If he does exactly what he did in 23 for Notre Dame in 25, this wide receiving core is going to be better, right? Yeah. So this is a parallel projection, not a upward projection. So I feel a lot better about it, and that's why. And then, of course, the natural progression of Jaden Greathouse and Jordan Faison and the rest of the wide receiving core, Gilbert and Williams. Like
it's still a little bit of a crapshoot to have them this high, though, because of the fact that we have for the last however many years, what is it, 4 years, 5 years? Like we've been waiting for the receivers.
I know.
I've been waiting for the receivers to step up, and it still hasn't quite exactly, for many of the reasons that you said. But I did have the receivers a little lower just because of, I always make fun of those, my old neighbors from my childhood in Missouri, known as the Show Me State. Like even though I would never live in Missouri, like there's like some of that sort of like just naturally rubbed off on me. I do have to see it a little bit first. I've got total belief in this group, especially considering who they're going to have pulling the trigger, throwing the ball, and all that kind of stuff. But 5 is still just a little bit high for me. And Irish Moody Not is asking, is this the ranking of where they are now, not where they'll be come playoff time? Yes, it's where they are now, because that's what we were saying. We're doing this ranking now, and then what we'll probably do after the Miami game, since it's a bye week the next week, we might revisit this and see if we think we nailed it, and then we can revisit at the end of the season once again as well.
And part of it is what DJ just kind of put into the chat as well. I don't know if everybody can see it since he's over in the WSBT chat, but he says now they have an arm to get them the football. And that is absolutely part of this ranking for me. They have whoever the quarterback is, it's going to get them the football. And they're going to give the wide receivers an opportunity to be successful.
Irish Gordian Nut, if you live in Missouri, Missouri, come on. Let's just be real here.
I mean, St. Louis is in Missouri. I'm sorry.
That's right. And it's for that reason, Vince, I won't waste my time. I know that, again, looking at what some people in the YouTube chat have been putting in there in terms of where they think these different position groups are. I've got quarterbacks at number 6.
Yep.
Behind them, because again, even though it's unproven, and maybe this goes against what I was just saying, I've got to see it first. I have at least seen
we've seen enough
quarterbacks that Carr and Minchie are to be confident that they are the kind of guys who can get this offense into the 21st century for the first time in a while, and not be throwing rocks back there and, just running your quarterback into the line and stuff like that. It's going to look a lot different this year. So if I'm going to believe that the receivers are going to make that kind of jump, it's because of the talent that they've got at the quarterback position. So that's why I've got to have quarterback where they are.
I had them at number 6 in my personal ranking. So that fits perfectly. I think the talent level is there. We have seen enough in practice. I realize not everybody gets a chance to see practice, but I've seen enough from both of these guys to know that the talent level from a throwing perspective is there. These two kids are talented. These two kids are uber talented. People are going to be very excited to see what either number 8 or number 13 brings to the table from the quarterback position. So I guess that means I'm next, right?
Yes.
Number 7?
Yep.
So this is where it gets sketchy for me as far as the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 position groups. And I went – this is where I went with safeties. So I'm going to stick with safeties at number 7. I think you've got a dude in a Don Schuler who has the opportunity to become a dude on the defense, not just at his position. He was kind of living in the shadow of Xavier Watts last year, but he absolutely exploded onto the scene and did an amazing job. He wasn't just, Robin to his Batman. You know what I mean? I mean, he actually played really, really well. How is he going to be now that he's the leader of that secondary now that Xavier Watts is playing in Atlanta, right? So I think the talent level at the other safety position is high. We still don't know who that starter is going to be, but I think that there are enough options from a talent level that this is where I have the safety position.
Whoever it turns out is going to be good based on everything that we got to see in the fall.
Yeah.
Whoever it is going to be a good one. There's talent there.
Oh yeah.
But again, we just haven't got to see it. Like there's so much talent in that room right now. I think, because like they went out and got Hurd last year. They got Stroman, obviously, from Virginia Tech this year. I think that Stroman might be the last safety they have to take from the transfer portal in quite some time.
I agree.
Recruiting there and what they've put into that room in the last few cycles. So completely agree. I actually had safety one spot higher, but and I had wide receivers a little bit lower. So that's kind of where the switch was. So I've got, putting them at number 7, I've got absolutely no problem with that. We're going to take one more time out, then we'll be back to maybe wrap up this position ranking in the first hour. If not, we can always bleed over into the second hour a little bit. But we will do that when we return. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Winded down the first hour of the show with Vince DeDario, Sean Stiers, Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. All right, we'll see if we can finish off this ranking of the position groups for Notre Dame heading into Thursday's start of fall training camp. Here's what we have to this point. Running backs at number 1, followed by linebackers, cornerbacks, offensive line at number 4, then wide receiver, quarterbacks, the signal callers, number 7 position group, the safeties. So you had the last pick. I've got the next pick, and I'm going with defensive ends in the number 8 spot. I think that maybe there's an argument that they could be higher. Again, there's a ton of talent there. Like I took Bryce Young, for example, in my breakout players yesterday with my number 1 pick of like breakout player draft. Like the potential is obviously there, but it's largely, are they going to do it or not? Not having Jordan Botelho obviously is going to have some impact as well, for at least part of the season. Getting Boubacar Traore back, the question with him is going to be health and, how close to 100% is he going to be and all that kind of stuff after the ACL last year. So defensive ends at number 8.
It's where I had him in my personal rankings. I think defensive end is a good spot here. This is the one that I think has the ability to be the highest riser once we revisit this. I just think that there's too much unproven production here, a ton of potential talent. It's that P word again. It's the potential, and it makes me nervous, and especially at an important position like this. And this is where I fall on the I need to see it to believe it category with defensive ends. I just think there's a lot of talent there. I think there's a ton of talent there. They all got hurt last year, it felt like.
Yeah, exactly.
And you need them if you want to be.
Josh Burnham was out for a while.
Right. If you want to be a national title contender, these guys need to be healthy and they need to be productive. But again, they can be, which is why I think they could very easily move up from 8 to a top 3 position group if they do what they're capable of. It's just they haven't done it yet. And so that's where they slide into number 8 for me.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. All right, what's your number 9 group then?
Well, my number 9 group is the other half of the defensive line, and that's where I'll put the defensive tackles. And very similar conversation to the defensive ends. It's a lot of potential talent and not a lot of proven production. I think they're going to be bigger there than they have been in the past. I think they're going to be more athletic there than they have in the past. But again, are they going to be able to do it? Look, the whole defensive line is like 12 deep, right? But like, is it going to be positive production at that 12 deep?
Yeah.
That's just the biggest question right now. So that's why they're 8 and 9 for me.
Again, talent there, but you've got one guy in the interior who was injured for part of last season in Rubio. You've got another guy who missed half of the season because he left the team for personal reasons in Onye. You've got an undersized guy who's the most experienced guy in Donovan Heinisch, and then you've got Dawson transferring in from Louisville. And I think those are probably going to be the 4 primary guys, at least early on. The question is, can they – I don't think they're going to be quite what Howard Cross and Riley Mills were last year, but if they can be just a notch or 2 below, I think that'll be fine when you look at what they've got outside of them with those, defensive ends that we just talked about.
Yeah, and look, and Howard Cross didn't have a great season. So the bar is not incredibly high, in my opinion, for a 1-2 combo. Look, Riley Mills was playing at another level when he got hurt against IU.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very unfortunate that he wasn't able to play against Penn State and Ohio State, because I think he really would have made a difference there in the middle. But so he's going to be very difficult to replace. You're going to have to replace him in the aggregate. But I think you can replace the production that you got from Howard Cross last year. I think that they have the talent to do that. They have the size to do that.
And between the two, like when you talk about the aggregate between the two of those guys from last year, they're going to have bigger bodies out there this year. Like with the exception of Heinisch, when you look at Onye and Dawson and Rubio, those are all very big men who are going to be playing those positions. And, to your point, did Howard Cross have his best year? No. But when he and Mills were on the field together, that's when Notre Dame had their best pass rush.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, completely agree.
All right.
You got the 10 slot.
Yep. Tight ends slotting in here. And I was honestly a little bit surprised that maybe you didn't have the tight ends a spot ahead of the defensive tackles. That's the way I had it. But at the same time, it's kind of like you're pulling, straws out of the hat between the two. Look, there's talent there, and like front end, Eli Raridan is going to give him a lot. But again, the question is going to be, can he stay healthy all year after all the injuries he's gone through so far? I think Ty Washington is going to be the guy that they're bringing, that they brought in from Arkansas is going to be a guy that we see a lot. Everybody else has had some kind of injury or another. So I think it's still a very talented room. It's just a matter of injuries and can they produce?
100%. I think they are very top heavy. I think that injuries really hurt this group for me. And, whether it's past injuries or current injuries or a transfer that we don't really know anything about because of some issues that he had at Arkansas. And so there's just way too many question marks about this group. Now, the fact that they took Eli Raridan on the New York trip, and he looks just jacked right now, in all those pictures and everything, like those are all great signs. But can he do it for 15 games, or 16 games or whatever the case may be, right? So there's just way too many question marks surrounding the tight end position for me to have them any higher right now. Again, this group could move up too, right? It's just right now they got to be in the 10 spot.
All right. So I don't even know why I added the specialist kicker.
I know.
They slot in here at number 11. You've got 20 seconds to give me some kind of case because we're already behind and we wrap up at 6:40 tonight for a Cubs game. So.
Of course we do. Look, it's real simple. If Noah Burnett had been more consistent during the spring, I would have actually put them up a couple slots higher just to be that guy. Look, I think James Rendell could be a lot better in year 2 than he was in year 1. How is he going to be used by Marty Biaggi? I think he wasn't used properly most of the season. If he's used properly, he can be very effective. And I think Noah Burnett's going to be fine as well, but they got to be in the 11th slot here. Still questions there.
Yep. Time's up. All right. That's it. Good case. You made it.
That's all I got.
Running back, linebacker, cornerback, offensive line, wide receiver, quarterback, safety, defensive end, defensive tackle, tight ends, kickers, punters. Those are the 11 groups that we had, and that is how we rank it. Rapid fire coming up in the second hour of the show. That is just around the corner on Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat. Rapid fire time as we roll into the second hour of Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat tonight, along with Vince DeDario. I'm Sean Stiers. Vince, we did the position group rankings to start off the show tonight, and I see the chat on the YouTube side is still going crazy over that. So maybe we did something right. I don't know.
We created the conversation, Sean. That's what we do.
That's right. Let's just get into rapid fire, though. PFF did a ranking themselves. They've always got some kind of ranking coming out. Top 50 returning college football players in the country this season. They've got Jeremiah Love at number 4, like his jersey number, of course. Leonard Moore at number 6, but no other players in the rest of the top 50. My question to you, Vince, which other Notre Dame players could crack college football's top 50 list by the end of the season?
This is a loaded question because I think there's a lot of potential on both sides of the football, right? I think you can start with Drake Bowen. I think he's got a great chance to be in that mix. I think Adon Schuler could be in that mix.
Yep.
Pick an offensive lineman, right? I think, Billy Shrouth could be in that mix. If Charles Jagisaw is around long enough this season, he could be in that mix. Dare I say Notre Dame's quarterback, whoever it is, could be in that mix. That might be a little premature, and I get that. But if you're the quarterback at Notre Dame,
they're a playoff team at the end of the season. I think the quarterback is going to deserve to be in that conversation.
Sure,
very, very least top 100.
Yeah,
I would say.
And then I would say whoever proves themselves to be the alpha at wide receiver, whether that's Malachi Fields or Jaden Greathouse, I think they both have an opportunity to crack that list. So, I mean, there's a number of guys, to be perfectly honest with you, depending on how the season plays out.
I agree. Jesus from Mexico is going in on CJ Carr and Jaden Greathouse. I agree with that, and I agree with everything that you just said. I'm not sure with like Eli Raridan, I think has a chance to be really good, but to be in that conversation, I mean, he's going to have to be obviously Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers type good as a tight end. I don't know that he, gets that kind of consideration in one season, as good as he can be. I was kind of surprised with the kind of love that Emil Wagner has been getting from some of these, different preseason All-Americans and watch lists and stuff. But again, we're talking about top 50. So really that's fairly select. And for Notre Dame to have 2 guys on there, especially 2 guys in the top 10, that's already, pretty high praise that Notre Dame is getting. But I think, yeah, Adon Schuler can be in that conversation. As you said, Drake Bowen can be in that conversation. Even Kingston Viliamu-Asa can be in that consideration. Yeah. Which is, again, why I put the linebackers as my number 2 position group when we did it. And I agree, one of the 2 receivers, I think, between Fields and Greathouse is going to have a really good shot at being in there.
Now, we're not saying all of these guys are going to be in the top
right.
50.
We're just saying these are guys
right. I just want to make sure.
No team is going to have 8 guys in the top 50 in the nation. If they do, then you're either the national champion or you're being cursed by your fan base for not winning the national championship. If you have that many guys ranked in the top 50. So
can you even imagine? I mean, the year that Michigan won the national championship, they sent 57 guys to the combine. Is there a chance that Notre Dame has, a bunch of guys? Sure. But the reality is this entire group is not going, but these are the guys that have the opportunity.
Yes. Fill in the blank. The most likely player we'll be talking about at the end of training camp that we're not talking about now is blank.
This might have been the hardest question that you asked for all of rapid fire, because we talk about everybody
forever, for the last many years.
It might be. It's up there. It's top 10 for sure. But this is a tough one because we talk about every player. You know what I mean? Could it be a Will Black, on the offensive line? Is there a chance that he's playing just so well that they're like, crap, he's one of our top 5. We've got to get him in here. And then he creates a domino effect, across the board. If that happens, we will be talking about Will Black. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm trying to think of guys along those lines. Could it be the safety that ends up starting across from Adon Schuler?
Well,
could that be? But we've talked about those guys a bunch.
This is a very popular guy that Christopher Hardy is putting in there, Jadon Blair. And this is obviously, the kid is good. for one thing.
For sure. Tall.
That's why he's here. Yeah. But the question, like, over the course of training camp, can he have a Kyle Hamilton type training camp? Because that's what it's going to take to vault himself past three other guys and be that guy that we're just ranting and raving about, and a guy who can't, who they can't keep out of the starting lineup or at least out of the, high end rotation. That's why I have a hard time, as talented as he is and the skill set that he has. That's why I have a hard, but he would qualify because
definitely
none of us are just like jumping on the Jadon Blair boat right now because we haven't actually been able to go out there and see what he looks like compared to some of these other guys.
I think he's uber talented. I do.
Yeah.
But the problem,
absolutely,
it's
I'm
not
taking
a problem.
anything away from him at all.
There's a bunch of talent vying for that opposite safety across from Adon Schuler, a ton of it. And so, which guy is going to, which cream rises to the top? You know what I mean? And could it be Blair? Sure. And if he ends up getting that spot, that's a great answer. Then we're going to be talking about him a bunch, So I don't know. Who did you have? Who was the first person that came to your mind?
Honestly, this is very tough for me. I feel like it's going to be one of the offensive linemen, and you said his name. Like I'm just, something always happens on that offensive line. The last 2 years, something has happened on that offensive line. So I'm not going to disregard Will Black at this point. That would be kind of my, again, like maybe I'm, double talking because I'm saying, well, Jadon Blair has more in front of him going into camp, whereas because of the injuries to two very key guys going into camp, there's at least a chance for a young guy like Black to potentially get some looks. So I'll say him.
Okay.
Right.
Look at that. We're right here together, there. We're both thinking the same guy. I mean, just from, whispers and things like that, he's turning heads right now.
Yeah.
And he's going, like I said, he's going to have to hit the hand of Joe Rudolph.
Right.
And we've seen it happen before. And like you said, something always kind of crazy happens on the O-line the last few years. So
it does. Nobody saw Sam Pendleton coming last year.
No, they didn't.
All of a sudden he was in the starting lineup.
They didn't see Anthony Knapp either.
Nope.
There was about 3 other tackles that we all talked about when Charles Jagisaw went down as to who's going to get that opportunity. And we're all like, what is happening?
No, but it's still crazy that as scared as people were of Tosh Baker playing out there, the way they flipped out with Anthony Knapp out there, it's like, well, okay. Obviously, the options were fairly limited, but
I know
that was last year. We'll see what happens this year. Okay, so Cubs Hall of Famer Ryne Sandberg unfortunately passed away after a battle with cancer yesterday. Here is a little bit from Tim Kirkjian, did a tribute to Sandberg on ESPN.
There was a certain elegance beyond his greatness and toughness to Cubs Hall of Fame second baseman Ryne Sandberg. There was regal quality to the way he swung the bat, the way he caught a ground ball, the way he ran the bases, and the way he always carried himself.
Make a great play, act like you've done it before, get a home run, put your head down, drop the bat, run around the bases, because the name on the front is a lot more important than the name on the back.
He is one of the greatest defensive second basemen of all time. He won 9 Gold Gloves, second only to Roberto Alomar's 10. Sandberg once held the record for the most consecutive games without an error, 123, by a second baseman, covering 584 chances. No second baseman was better at making the turn on the double play than vanishing before a base runner could crush him. Sandberg became an offensive force in 1984 when Cubs manager Jim Fry convinced him to pull the ball as often as possible.
That was definitely a turning point for me, and I just feel like I've learned what he was talking about. Things have come together the last few years as far as swinging for power.
Sandberg won the National League MVP that year, which included what is known as the Sandberg game.
In a left center field and deep, this is a tie ball game.
On June 23rd against the Cardinals, he went 5 for 6 and hit game-tying homers in the 9th and 10th inning against brilliant closer Bruce Sutter.
Look out! Do you believe it? It's gone!
Leading the Cubs to a 12-11 victory. In 1990, Sandberg led the NL in homers with 40. He would finish with 282. He also stole 344 bases. He and Hall of Famers Joe Morgan and Craig Biggio are the only primary second basemen in baseball history with 250 homers and 300 steals. Indeed, Sandberg could play the piano and move it too.
All right, so there's Tim Kirkjian on the career and the passing of the great Ryne Sandberg, passed unfortunately yesterday after a long battle with cancer. Vince, you are a lifelong Cubs fan. Where does Ryne Sandberg rank in terms of the great Cubs greats of your lifetime?
He's right up there. See that bat right behind me there, Sean?
I do.
For the people on the YouTube channel, signed by Ryne Sandberg, and it hangs on my wall. That should tell you.
Did you get that when he came to South Bend a few years back?
So my aunt bought me that bat, and it had like an engraved signature from him, and it's got like all of his accolades. It was when he went into the Hall of Fame is when she got that bat for me. When he came in as the opposing manager into South Bend, I took that bat to the game, and he was signing autographs after the game was over. And my father-in-law, being 6'3" or whatever he is, like leaned over the entire crowd and put the bat right in his face. And he grabbed it, signed it, and handed it back. So it's one of my most like sports memorabilia prized possessions. I've got a bat signed by Ryne Sandberg, and I've got a baseball signed by Johnny Bench. Those are my two favorites. And it's because I was a catcher, so I had to get Johnny Bench, right? Yep. So, but no, Ryne Sandberg is one of my first idols growing up, being that he was the best player on a Cubs team that I rooted for. I grew up a Cubs fan because my entire one side of the family is from Chicago. They're all Cubs fans, and it's like you had to be a Cubs fan to be in my family. And so he was my idol growing up, man. And it was a very sad day yesterday. I was watching the Cubs game last night, and he passed away, or the word came out that he passed away in the middle of the game. And they started talking about it. And then, like I said, I watched all the tribute videos today, and it was kind of tear-jerking, to be perfectly honest with you. There's one thing that I still want to watch that I kind of came across that I haven't had a chance to listen to yet, but I believe it was, let me see here. There's a clip of, I think it was Andre Dawson, and I'll have to double check, but Ryne Sandberg reached out to Andre Dawson and Mark Grace, and just to tell him how much he loved them and how much he loved Cubs fans and all that, like 2 days ago. It's like,
wow.
Come on, man. That's just,
it's almost like he kind of knew it was coming.
That just tears your heart out, man.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Very sad day to be a Cubs fan, and feel really bad for his family and for him and kind of how that all went down. And it's Andre. Yeah, it was Sean Dunston, Andre Dawson, and Mark Grace. He called all three of those guys.
I mean, he was a rookie. Sandberg was in 81, got traded to the Cubs in the offseason. So from 82 and into the 90s, he was like Mr. Cub, like the second coming of Mr. Cub, and like that double play combination with him and Shawan Dunston.
Shawan and Ryne.
That's right. Yeah, Sean, and then Gracie, and they had Rafael Palmeiro in the mix there for a little while. And, you had Andre Dawson there out in right field. Like that was like even growing, because I was actually listening to an interview. They had Alex Cora, the Red Sox manager, on Jim Rome, which is on the air here before we start the show. And so Rome was asking him about Ryne Sandberg. And just like me, Cora grew up in the era of WGN when you still had the Superstation. Yep. So like, even though like I lived in Kansas, we could watch the Cubs all the time. It was basically Cubs Royals, that's what and the Atlanta Braves as well. And when the Braves were still horrible back then, so you would watch more of the Cubs, because even though the Cubs only had a couple years, but like it was obviously Rhino out there all the time. And that great 84 team that unfortunately for them fell flat in the NLCS against the Padres. They would have been a buzzsaw for the Detroit Tigers in the World Series anyway. But he was so smooth at second base, and like just the numbers that he put up for a second baseman before the steroid era, basically
Right.
in the last all natural era. He was put, both home run, like the first second baseman to ever have consecutive 30 home run seasons, which is amazing because especially once by the time you got to Jeff Kent, everyone, whatever.
Right.
Everyone's popping 30 home runs now, it seems like, but he was the first to do it
And he's just so old school, right? He just did his job. Wasn't flamboyant about it. He just came out there every single day, did his job, did it at a high level, and was an icon in Chicago sports history. The number 23, the whole thing. Him and Jordan were there together, and it was always this. The number 23 was always a thing in Chicago because of him and Michael Jordan. Like, that's pretty good company to hang out in, and they were the icons of Chicago in the 90s.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
that's what I remember is
Absolutely.
the 90s and him and Jordan.
Rest in peace to the great Ryan Sandberg. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we will continue with rapid fire. We've got a little Chicago Bears training camp. We've got a little LSU Clemson going back and forth at each other, and some more coming up when we continue with rapid fire on Sports Radio 960 and 106.1 FM with IrishBreakdown.com. We continue with Rapid Fire with Vince DeDario. I'm Sean Stiers. Hope you're having a great day. Don't forget, you can always watch us on either YouTube channel, the Irish Breakdown YouTube channel, or the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube channel. And subscribe to that Sports Radio WSBT channel while you're there. We're just a brand new, up and running YouTube channel. We're
a little baby.
Trying to get it sprouted and get him walking a little bit. Vince, Chicago Bears training camp, of course, is underway. All NFL training camps are now underway. Scale of 1 to 10, what's your excitement level for the start of the Ben Johnson era?
I'm still in mourning about them taking Caleb Williams.
Oh, we're still
one.
Doing that, huh?
It's going to take me a little while to get over that. I'm not going to lie.
A lot of people are high on Caleb Williams.
I know they are. I don't see it. And it hurts me. I don't see it yet. Now, I do think the Ben Johnson hire was a very, very good one. And I am very interested to see what the offense looks like, if they're able to put the defense together, all of those different things. So, I mean, my intrigue level is like at a 7.5 to 8 is where I would say. And I'm much more excited for the Notre Dame season than I am for the Bears.
I can see that.
But I watch the NFL. So, I mean, I'm going to watch the Bears when they're on.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me to root for number 18. That's just the hardest thing for me right now. And maybe
Until he starts winning. You'll be pulled along begrudgingly. He actually starts winning.
We'll see. He's got a lot of weapons around him. And, you know, they rebuilt the offensive line again. And so we'll see what that looks like. This is very much a believe it when I see it kind of a situation, Sean.
Were you watched the quarterback doc on Netflix?
Yes.
I watched it as well. I just watched the last episode the other night. I knew that the Lions, obviously Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator for the Lions the last few years. I knew that they ran some trick plays. I didn't realize how many trick plays they ran. And so not that you're going to build your whole offense on trick plays, but at the very least, I think you're going to be somewhat entertained by the Bears offense this year, which you haven't really been able to say for the last few years. I feel like you're always going to sort of be on your toes. Should be a little bit more entertaining product out there. That's what I took, kind of in the lens of watching that Lions offense and some of that stuff that they were doing with Ben Johnson. And it's man, now they're not going to have Jahmyr Gibbs and, is Caleb Williams going to be, end up anywhere close to Jared Goff? Remember, it took Goff's career a little bit to get going as well, but I don't know. I'm obviously not a Bears fan. So
right.
I would, if I were a Bears fan, I would at least have some enthusiasm that there's going to be some more creativity in that offense this season.
Absolutely. And the offense for the Chicago Bears has been putrid pretty much my entire lifetime. They've always been a defensive driven team, and they finally got an offensive guy in there as head coach. What is that going to look like? It's intriguing. I'm very intrigued by it. And the NFL is supposed to be entertaining. So I'm hoping that it is entertaining. It's just hard. It is. It's just hard to get excited about it. But hopefully they can win some ball games. Look, the NFC North could very well be the most competitive division top to bottom in all of NFL.
I think it's getting slighted a little bit. There are a lot of people talking about the AFC West as the best division in baseball. I think that the two North divisions, both the AFC and the NFC, are in the, because the Packers had a disappointing season last year, but they were still solid, and everybody thought that the Bears were going to be good last year, and obviously they had to make a coaching change. But I mean, you had the Vikings and the Lions competing for the number 1 overall seed going into the last couple of weeks of the season last year. And then, the AFC North, you've got the Bengals, who just missed the playoffs last year. You've got the Ravens and the Steelers. And then you've got the Browns, who were just in the playoffs a couple of years ago. And, they've got questions, but but to your point, I agree. I think that the NFC North is getting slighted a little bit in terms of overall respect.
I think they're going to be extremely competitive. Right now, I would put the Bears probably 4th in that division, but I think it's going to be very competitive where any one of those 4 teams could win at any given day. I think the Vikings are a little overrated. but we'll see.
You know,
We'll
like
break down
JJ
the
McCarthy. I get that. And
I can't.
you're going to have to prove it that he can do it.
He really is.
I agree with Scott. Hit that like button if you would. If you're watching on the YouTube, he says, this show deserves so much more than 34 likes. I appreciate you, Scott. Irish Gordian Knot was chiming in earlier. Lives in southeastern Missouri in the highest peaks of the Ozarks.
Ooh.
Beautiful, beautiful, country down there. We vacationed a couple times down around Lake of the Ozarks and all that kind of stuff. Very nice. Very humid, though. But that is also the area where I went to basic training, Fort Leonard Wood. So, like, that's kind of my last memory of that part of Missouri. That's not going to make me like Missouri anymore. And Scott also says he still laughs whenever he thinks of Jesse's ill-advised guarantee that Steve Angeli would not be on a Power 5 roster. He didn't even bet. He just said he'd buy dinner if Angeli transferred to a Power 5. He still owes both of us dinner, by the way.
I think.
Thanks for reminding me of that, Scott, because I had completely forgotten.
I feel bad for him. He's got a wedding coming up. He's got to pay for the wedding. So I'm even willing to postpone the payment of that until after the wedding, but he's going to have to pay for it. And maybe that has to come up in a rapid fire on Friday. I don't know.
I think you're right. He's actually coming to town, not this weekend, but next weekend. So kind of feel like maybe it's time for him to break out the pocketbook. They do have a big payment they've got to put down.
And I get
at the end of the month for like their deposit.
Sure.
The wedding, facility and all that kind of stuff. So he was actually hitting us up for some cash. So I don't know if he's going to be up for buying us dinner, but we'll see.
Like I said, I'm willing to push it. I appreciate the fact he's paying for his wedding.
Yep.
But, that's a bet, man. He's the better between the three of us.
That's right. If you're gonna make the wager, you got to pay up when you lose.
Just saying.
Yep. Happy Gilmore 2 dropped over the weekend on Netflix. It's been pretty polarizing so far, Vince. Scale of 1 to 10. How do you rate it?
I just don't understand the polarization for it. Like, what were some of these people expecting when they turned on Happy Gilmore 2?
Right.
Like, did they watch the first one? Because the first one was a very typical Adam Sandler, slapsticky, crude jokes and all of those things, right? Well, guess what Happy Gilmore 2 is? It's all of those things.
They hit a lot of the same notes from the first one, just like Top Gun Maverick. Like they borrowed the beats from the first one and played off it as much as possible.
I mean, it was the same type of jokes, right? And then a lot of throwbacks to the first one, a lot of homages, a lot of, bringing back the characters. And, it's exactly what it should have been. Is it going to win an Oscar? No, but that was not the goal when they made this movie.
Sean. I'm just surprised at the number of people who I've heard say it was awful.
Seriously.
Terrible. Like, really? Because again, what are you expecting from Happy Gilmore or not Happy? Happy Gilmore 2. I got my Madison, like
Billy Madison.
Billy Madison, because he's got that, what is it? Happy Madison Productions or something. Yeah. But I'm at a strong 6.5 or 7. I thought that like the open was really good because again, they just jumped in, they were like throwing back to a lot of the old beats. You had Ben Stiller in there revising that role.
Yep.
That was funny. And the thing that disappointed me the most, and I won't give it away for people who haven't seen it.
I know what you're going to say.
The Julie Bowen storyline, Virginia. I was very disappointed in just the lack of I wanted to see more from that character. I was disappointed with where they went with that. Are you
shocked?
Do you back me up on that?
100%.
I was excited to hear that Julie Bowen was in this.
Me too. And they brought her back in again, don't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but her participation was not what I was anticipating, and that was very disappointing to me as well. And I watched it with my kid, and I looked over at him. I was like, why did they do that? And then, of course, I immediately go to the Google machine, and I'm like, why did they? And they're like, well, Happy needed some adversity in his life. I'm like, no, he didn't. Yeah. He did not need that. He had the goal of making money for his daughter's schooling and all. Like, that's all the adversity that he needed.
Yep.
I disagree wholeheartedly with that particular decision.
Yeah. The only, like the golf at the end, that's where, like, one, it was too long. It was like a 2-hour comedy. It should have been an hour and 45 minutes tops. They did stretch it too long. Usually those kind of, it's like 90 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes.
Sure.
So it's like 15 to 20 minutes too long. The golf stuff at the end, that's where it went off the rails to me. Like if you're going to knock it, I just thought it was kind of stupid,
weird.
the golf stuff that they were doing. And I realized they were trying to, like again with the story and trying to find some different kind of spin. But that was, other than that, it's an Adam Sandler movie. And,
Right.
like, most of his comedies over the last 20 or so years haven't been that great, but I actually thought that this was one of the better ones that he's done. But again, it's like the nostalgia play. That's what's in right now. Go to the old IP and go for the nostalgia.
And it worked. I'm
Yep.
sorry. It worked.
As well. 62 cameos in that, by the way.
There were a lot.
Yes.
And I didn't catch them all the first time. I actually saw a video that said there were 74. So there you go.
Oh, wow. Well, maybe even more. Ton of golfers. Travis Kelce had a funny role in there as well. All right, we're going to have to wrap it up with that. We've got South Bend Cubs baseball coming up next here on Sports Radio WSBT. We will be back tomorrow with more, our final day before the start of Notre Dame fall training camp. We will talk to you then. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.